North-South Connection. Welcome to this special edition of NoSo Countdown. It is Backlash 2025 weekend, and one of the biggest matches on that card is John Cena versus Randy Orton for the WWE title. And of course, these two men have quite the storied history. And Ryan, you and I are going to go through all of their pay-per-view matches. They have had 10 of them leading up to this weekend, and we're going to rank them. We'll mention some other stuff that they've wrestled to on TV. We'll shout out some comments from some of the teasers we did on social. And of course, this is simulcast both audio on North-South Connection on all podcast applications except Spotify, and on YouTube as well under North-South Connection. If you watch on YouTube, you get to see some cool graphics, so check us out there. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm all right. Just noticed you're wearing that neck hat. I hope that
took you long enough. That was like 6 or 7 minutes you went. I was hoping you'd catch it.
Well, I wanted to save it for here, buddy. You know, it's bullshit. Okay. It's Thursday afternoon, and hopefully by Backlash starts, it's a 2-1 series. Being up 81% of the time in a 2-game series is concerning. Blowing 2 20-point leads is concerning, but I'm more concerned about John Cena and Randy Orton right now. So just to get away from it, we get a little shout out here. National champs Jay Wu, Landon Freshman, winning a national title
very
in
good, very
college
good.
westling. So I'll give him a shout for that, and we'll probably
bringing some happiness to Rhode Island with a.
Yeah, first time in school history, Justin. So Rhode Island. Oh yeah, that's Rhode Island pride right there, Justin.
Mm-hmm. It's a big summer for Rhode Island. We got the Real Housewives of Rhode Island coming up. We got I think there's a movie. M. Night Shyamalan's doing a movie this summer, and Landon Gray is our national hero in wrestling.
No shit.
So
before we jump into it, Justin, three things we did. We took the cage match, we took your ranking, and we took my ranking, and we averaged them. Right. So that's how we got the 10 pay-per-view matches. From these two singles. We didn't do WrestleMania 24 or any other multi-man matches.
They have way too many multi-man matches. It was a lot in there. We just did singles.
Yeah, and then there are 21 total, including Raw and SmackDown. So no, we didn't do all
20 main roster, 21 if you count their OVW, which technically was kind of it was on the Pillman Memorial Show, which was kind of like a half main roster, half OVW, HWA deal, but that was like their first ever match when it was Prototype and Randy Orton, but 20 main roster matches heading into this one on Saturday night. All
right, so we got the crux of the idea. Let's kind of get going.
We're going to start number 10, 2007 Unforgiven, John Cena, Randy Orton. What do you got, Ryan, on this one?
All right, Justin. Yes, this was September 16th, 2007. It was for the World WWE Heavyweight title. Orton won by DQ, 7 minutes, 20 seconds. You gave it a 3. I gave it 2 1/4, and Cage Match had it at 3.39 for a 4.63 average. This is number 10 by a skosh. It's just disappointing. The month before SummerSlam is going to be much higher on this list. Yeah. I thought that was electric, and then just to have the DQ finish here is kind of a kick in the dick. And really, they had some
sub 8 minutes too.
Yeah. They had some juice coming in too, because this is coming off Cena attacking his dad. He had the dad at the front row, and then just Cena throwing the terrible punches for the DQ just really took me out of it. It just seemed like they were off the whole night, and of course, leading into the finish, that's probably why. This is definitely the most disappointing in my opinion.
And this is the Taker Mark Henry main event show. Main event of this one, I think, right? Was it like Taker's return from the injury or something? That was also just not a great main event. This whole card definitely is lackluster. And yeah, you're hoping for some magic. I mean, this is their first like real feud. They fight on and off a little bit before this, but this was like their first. All right, here are our top 2, future stars going at it now. And this one definitely did not live up to SummerSlam. Weak finish, and again, to only go 8 minutes with Cena and Orton for the WWE title on a major pay-per-view definitely felt like a miss.
Well, it felt like they were building to something too, because this is right before Cena gets hurt with the pec, right? So we didn't know what was perhaps coming after that as well. So
yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, he's gone before No Mercy the next month. So
yeah, so it was building to something, and you could see these pay-per-view matches being a theme of building towards something as we go. So overall, it hurt the kind of kickback, but you kind of did get it, and maybe we'll see it later in the card, a continuation of this match. So overall, just disappointing due to the booking, which will also be a theme as well.
Yep. Number 9, we're going to go to 2009. Now, this is, I would say, probably their most like involved and intense feud was in 2009. They fight a bunch of times, potato in the title back and forth. This is the match. It's a pretty divisive one. 2009 bragging rights, Ryan. What are the details on this?
All right. October 25th, 2009, a 60-minute Iron Man match where falls counted anywhere. WWE heavyweight title. Cena wins 60 minutes. Justin, 1.5 grading. I gave it a 4+, but I went 4. Cage match 8.44 for a 4.64 average, just squeaking out the Unforgiven match. You tanked this, Justin. I understand some of the electricity was perhaps the way. Maybe you've grown a little bit with your watching or your Orton fan.
I didn't watch this too long ago though, because this would have been, I did this for PTB in 09. I mean, probably 2 years ago, I would say I watched this. So it's not that long. I don't know. It's a long match. Obviously it's an Iron Man, 11 falls, which I'm not against. Like, Triple H and The Rock is like my favorite Iron Man ever. And that has 11 falls as well. Yeah. I think I just don't like when they go, a lot of this feud did feel a little cartoonish at times, where they're really going to the extent of like trying to like kill each other in the feud. And I'm all for like realistic hate and anger and wrestling, and they're trying to beat the piss out of each other. But, again, they're using pyrotechnics. It just gets a little unbelievable. And I think I'll say one thing that maybe hurt this for me at the time. Watching these shows chronologically in 09 for PTB, right? Place to Be podcast. I was very sick of this feud. Like, they had a lot of weird matches, right? They had the one with all start stops that we'll talk about. The cell. So it felt very much like, all right, I'm just kind of over it. And then to have this with like, Tom and Jerry style antics all throughout the hour just felt like a little bit much to me. But I know like every other list I looked at, like most people have it like number one on their list.
I'll defend it. I was like, all right, it's memorable. This is the most memorable match out of the 4. It's a time where pay-per-views start getting gimmicks. That trope kind of kicks this feud in the dick a little bit. No pun intended, right? So the memorableness of it is the antics of the pyrotechnics, which is 2.5 to 3 minutes of the whole thing. And what it is, the gist of it is Randy Orton's trying to murder John Cena, who's laying on the stage. And then there's like this wonky pyrotechnic guy who is bad acting, trying to get him not to, and so on and so forth. But he never really does it. So it plays into his character of a menacing, manipulative, trying to, do whatever it takes to beat John Cena, but take shortcuts. He doesn't hit him with the sledgehammer would be the parallel that I would give it, where the sledgehammer is just like, really, you kicking out of a sledgehammer to the head, you'd be dead. Here, he is never hit. And I kind of like initially how it built, where it was like he threw him into the stage and then we had the explosion. And then it kind of just spun an idea in his brain to go there and just murder him, which is extremely stupid on paper. And it's hard to defend, but I don't think it's like the dirt worst idea ever. The execution isn't as bad of it. And with him actually not killing him kind of plays into it as well.
Well,
mind you,
he's obviously not
Super Cena is a thing, and you kind of see that later on in this match. But what kind of put me on the for this is the final 11 to 12 minutes of this match is the best stretch that they have in any match.
It would have been fine if that was it.
It plays into a lot of the 3 matches leading into it. You saw each finish played into here as well. Overall, I thought that those 12 minutes totally propels this match to be kind of the best match that they have, in my opinion.
Part of it too is like there's a lot of slow stalking. Like intensity is one thing, but it's like when it's drawn out and this slow walking around, and then again you're mixing in like homicide attempts with slow stalking, and then like some of the comical stuff, Orton running around just wasting time. And I thought it actually overshadowed the viciousness in it. Like it felt like 30 minutes, like you said, even if it's 15 to 30, like stretched into 60 minutes of torture porn. Like it just felt like, I don't know, completely unnecessary. I also thought the finish was contrived. Like after everything he's been through, Orton couldn't hold on like 4 more seconds at the end after everything they did to each other.
It was about, but he had it in there for about. I understand that too. That's why I didn't go all time with the 4 1/4. And then it's a polarizing match, but it's their most memorable match.
I think if you watched all 4 in a row too, you might feel like I did. Like it was just
I watched all 4 matches in a row in a vacuum. I didn't deal with the pay-per-views.
I looked for PTB
in between, right?
Yeah, that doesn't hurt. But 3.5 for this whole show for me. So like it was a bad show. So I'm sure it was a tough mindset to be watching these pay-per-views, in order, in full. and just seeing how some of them are playing out. But
But
all right, let's move
we
to number
are
8.
ranking their matches. So overall, I think this one's a little high. I mean, a little low, of course, and I think it will surprise some people. But
I just think it's one of those.
just
It's like
watch
the
this,
Taker Triple
yeah.
H match. You either hate it or you love it. It feels like in this one.
Well,
Meltzer was
I'm not-
3.5, so he kind of split the difference on us.
yeah, I just don't think it's really should be 9.
All right, we're gonna stay in 09 for number 8 at SummerSlam. This starts the 4-match series. We just touched on the end, but here's the kickoff.
All right, August 23rd, 2009, WWE Heavyweight Title. Orton pins John Cena in 20 minutes and 38 seconds. Justin 2.25. I gave it 2.5, and Cage Match had it at 4.67 for a 4.72 average. We have here. There's 4 false finishes, which tanks the match.
Well, they're not false finishes. They are dusty finishes, which are worse.
Okay,
right? False
so,
finish is like a near fall. This is they end the match and restart the match 4 times, and to me, that completely neuters it. This whole series, I think, can be summed up with: you took 2 of your best guys that can work and have good chemistry, and overbook the entire fucking thing and make the whole feud comical in many ways. And there's a match coming that I really like, but like you just make the whole thing is like feels cartoonish. This is like out of control. 4 dusty finishes in a match is silly.
So, what I will say though, I suspected to hate it worse. The crowd never leaves with the dusty finishes. By the way, they're with it, and it's, of course, we have 4 pay-per-views coming up that need stipulations, so it plays into the story. It just kills the structure of this match.
They sacrifice it. Yeah.
It sacrifices it pretty much. It's the semi-main, so like I get it. It just sucks. But I was 2.5. I'm like, I thought it was better than I anticipated it to be, and they never lose the crowd, and the work's kind of good in it.
I think most of it's good, and it felt like a big deal. Like you said, the crowd's into it, and the baseline for these guys was high for like a standard match. But the first dusty finish was like, okay, because it kind of plays off Orton always like, in the past, he'd kick Sean in the balls for the DQ, right? Like he would do stuff like that, right? That was in his style. Then we get the second one, which felt like overkill. And Vince says it like right away. So it felt obvious and like silly, like no one's buying it. The third one was stupid. And I actually thought that could have been a real good finish if they went with that. But then we get another one where Orton ends up escaping with the RKO. And down the home stretch to me is where it completely fell apart. Like after that 4th one, it just hit the shitter. So
they go home extremely quick. They know they shit the bed afterwards.
I think they still could have salvaged it if it ends with that third one. I think maybe you escape and you're like, okay, not the smartest idea, but when that's the one with the what was the third one? Oh, Orton dodges SCF and we get Orton does a roll up with his feet in the ropes. That would have been a great Orton finish. Like we're dodging bullets, we're doing dusty finishes, and then he puts
the RKO
feet on the ropes and wins, right? And then we get the stupid fan thing at the end to do it. But.
Oh yeah, I forgot about So overall, it's not the worst, but it definitely hurts it. But
it's disappointing for these guys at SummerSlam.
At SummerSlam thing, if this is Backlash, whatever, right? And it kicks it off, fine. But
and they had Hardy and Punk after this,
which is all time.
The show, which is great. Yeah. All right, number 7, we go to. I was at this show, the 2014 Royal Rumble. We are, and this is the season we're covering, Ryan, right now on WWE War. Me and Marcus every other Thursday. We're going through the 13-14 year. And we're going to be creeping up on this right now. We're still kind of early in the run, but I'm curious to see how this holds up and plays out because late 13 to me is when WWE goes all in on fan disservice and ignoring their fans. Like this 13 to 16 stretch, I felt really was they became adversarial. They ignored the whims and this is what we're going to do. We don't give a shit. And it almost became like a sport for them. Like to how bad can they piss off the fans? And I think they thought it was like engaging heel stuff to run it through the authority, but it just got grating. And I was at a couple of these shows. Like I was at this show, I was at the next year. The fan backlash and apathy was strong, like in this.
Oh, incredible.
This match,
start the whole match. Let's go, Brian, right away.
Oh, awful. Yeah, awful. And then he doesn't show up in the Rumble. And this match, it felt like a better version of like Brock and Goldberg at 20. Like with the crowd is turning on it, but the match is actually okay.
Yeah, so January 26, 2014, WWE World Heavyweight Title. Orton wins via pinfall, 20 minutes, 54 seconds. You gave it 3.25. I gave it 3.25. Cage match had it at 5.8 6.85 for
So they have like 2 and 3. That's like 2 3/4 basically.
So a 6.28 average. I will say for 20 minutes, they had no chance the first 7 minutes. Total rejection. They're pros and they fight through it, and they ended up getting the crowd. Orton wins with an RKO after the Wyatts kind of emerge, and you get a massive pop there too. So it's kind of a fucky finish, but
and Bray and Bryan was obviously an all-time opener.
Yeah, no doubt.
This
night, and unfortunately for that funneled into this match.
Well, and this night wasn't as bad as 15 if Bryan is in the Rumble and wins the Rumble. Like they just needed to go that route instead of what they do with Batista. Even if you have Bryan eliminate Batista at the end, and then that sets up Batista turning and joining, but they weren't going that route at this point. Still, they were setting up Bryan and Bray rematch or whatever they were planning to do at Mania, or whatever the plan was. So they weren't, or Bryan Sheamus, it was something like that, right? Originally,
yeah, 7th from the top.
But they should have realized at this point, we can't stop this train, and it completely destroys the Rumble to the point where it's one of the few times Reigns is over during this run because
he's the bridesmaid to the match. So
yeah.
That was and then that was false hope for them too, as well, right?
Yeah.
So
it was a rough night. And Batista deserved better because he's awesome, and like the rest of that run, he's great once he turns heel, Blue Tista and all that with Evolution. Like that's really good stuff. But
for these guys, for us to go 3 1/4 with all those things pushing against us, this will be their second to last match. They're pros, and they got them. They got the crowd.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, I said in the last one, they have a high baseline. Yeah. It's just when there's less. This one they fought through the crap. These other ones that we just talked about, they couldn't.
They were giving crap.
They got strangled by the crap. Yeah. All right, number 6, 2008, No Way Out. This is a pretty fun scenario, right? Because Cena had just come back at MSG, and this is one of the years they really kind of went wonky with the WrestleMania title shot. They ended up putting it on the line early at No Way Out, and I think this is his first match. I don't think he wrestles between the Rumble and here.
Yeah, he looks good, right? It's not a bad match overall, but on February 17th, 2008, WWE heavyweight title, Cena wins by DQ is kind of what kind of punts a little bit. 15 minutes, 51 seconds, 3.5 for you, 3 1/4 plus for me in a 6.81 cage match for a 6.77 average. So a little bit forgotten about too, because it was kind of a dead zone. Perhaps this is the follow up from the Unforgiven match is what we got here.
Yeah, right. Because we talked about it. They kind of get hosed at No Mercy because Cena goes down. I think it made sense to go back to it. I thought their chemistry and the crowd atmosphere was really good in this one. It was simple. They worked very basic because of Cena's injury. And both guys own the characters at this point. And then sneaky Orton, steals it again, which is, I think, fine because, well, I'll put it this way. I think at the time, it felt like Cena may win here, and they were going to do Cena Triple H at Mania in the rematch from 22 that we didn't get the year before because of the injury. But I think Orton was so hot coming out of 07 into 08. They were like, he deserves it.
Yeah.
And at the time, that match felt kind of like, as a Mania title match. But when you look back,
it would have worked.
It really worked. Like to have because they were the 3 top guys on Raw, and they deserve to all be in that slot. So I actually think in retrospect, it looks better on paper than I think at the time it felt.
Yep, but for this match in a vacuum, it's hurt by the DQ, but that's needed to get to that WrestleMania 28 match, right?
Again, Ian, it's No Way Out, right? Like if SummerSlam is different, right? Then like a No Way Out, like this, and it's not the main event of the show. I don't think, right? No, they get the chamber.
This is right after the Big Show thing too.
Yeah. It's a sneaky fun show actually, leading it to that Mania.
Yeah.
And this is a time where they had some stuff cooking. They kind of heated back up.
Year.
It was their bounce back after the Benoit stuff, like just destroyed the back end of 07. I think you kind of have the HD, the Rumble and MSG, Cena's return in a very good Mania. The Flair storyline gets really good in early 08 with him, having a win to stay alive and all that.
Jericho's just back too. Yeah, it's a good year.
Yeah, he's figuring things out. You got the Hornswoggle stuff going on, but by that point he's with Finley, which is fun.
That match rules though.
Yeah, no, Finley JBL is awesome. No, it's a great Mania. So, all right. Let's go to number 5. This is the precursor to that Rumble match we just talked about, 2013 TLC. This is the big unification match. Kind of really, this felt like the initial end of the brand split, right? Like the solo pay-per-views are done, and now we're going to blend the titles back together. And they stay that way for what, like 2.5 years? Is it late 16 they recreate the new SmackDown title?
Yeah, up to the brand split where Finn Balor gets kind of thrown in. So that's mid 16. So yeah, it's about 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, that they So this is a TLC match.
All right, TLC match from December 15th, 2013. World and WWE heavyweight title unification. Orton wins by belt capture, 24 minutes, 36 seconds, 3.5 for you, 3.75 for me, and a 6.24 from cage match for a 6.91 average. I'm the highest on this. It just builds. It's simple, but it's safe. And it just builds. Perhaps it might be a 4, but they kind of fuck up the finish where with the table in the corner, they do the ring bottom thing, the rope on the bottom, and then they kind of pull them off there. They do some creative, fun, safe stuff in this match. I really liked it.
I think the only thing that hurts this time period is like, again, the way Punk and Bryan are being handled, because they were so over and people wanted to see them. And you got Punk in those, feuding with the Shield or whatever, and he was having his own problems. And then Bryan
with the Wyatts
had his big win at SummerSlam. They, fuck him after Unforgiven. And at this point, you don't know what to believe. Like, you want to think, okay, is Bryan going to be Foley of 98, where he's just keeping the seat warm for Austin Rock? Or is he going to be the guy like a Benoit, right, in 04 or whatever, where they're going to crown him at Mania? And I think this result of Orton winning makes sense. If you're marching to Mania, is that Daniel Bryan wins the Rumble and gets his revenge on Orton from SummerSlam, right? Like, to me, that's the story. And it was right there for them. And instead they do everything but it. And again, we'll cover on War. You got crying Big Show, like then Big Show usurping, appropriating the yes chair. Remember when he started doing it too? Like, it was
awful. Giving him the yes chant. Yeah, that was so bad.
It was awful. And then they're going to do Batista. And then finally, like, fuck it. All right, we can't hold back anymore. They had to cave to Bryan. But so I think that like this match is really good, but it did feel at the time there was so much angst for something new. And it felt like, fuck, we're going back to Cena Orton. And I think it's a little unfair. And I think when you look back in retrospect, again, it probably is better than it was at the time because everyone was so angry about how Bryan was being used. And I felt like, really, we're going back to Cena Orton yet again when we have the Shield, we got Bryan, we always get the Wyatts. We had a lot of cool acts that were like over. And it felt like we're going back to same old. To Triple H is in charge. Orton's the heel. It just felt very much like, ugh. So with retrospect, we know where it goes. So it's like, okay, you can kind of swallow it more and appreciate the match.
And despite all that negativity, especially to start the match, and all the things you just kind of said going around the match, they end up getting the crowd. That's kind of a theme here. They're low-key underrated. That it's kind of like, oh, again, but after watching these 10 matches in a vacuum in 2 days, I think they're underrated. Just to kind of, in my own personal opinion. So booking kills them, by the way. That's what we'll kind of see that as a theme here. Wow, this is pretty high. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're back to the 09 feud. So like we said, it's a 4-match series with these guys. This is their Hell in a Cell 09 cell match. So give us the stats on this one.
All right, Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, October 4th, 2009. Hell in a Cell match, WWE heavyweight title. Orton wins via pinfall to re-win the WWF title. 21 minutes, 24 seconds. Justin, 3 3/4. Me, 3.5. Cage match, 6.3 for a 6.93 average. Justin, this is the 3rd match out of 4 in that 2009 run.
Yeah, I think that tracks. Like I said, I had 3 3/4 when I did it for PTB. It's a good match. It's a little slow, but that's kind of their style here, where they go boom, 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 and then kind of slow it down. I thought the violence worked better here because they're in Hell in a Cell. It's meant to be a violent match, and it's not cartoonish. It feels like they really just want to end each other. I thought Orton's finish was pretty nasty. It's a good kill shot where he just violently chokes him in the ropes. Cena flops down. Orton stares at him and then punts him in the head for a clean win, which I thought was really good to finish it off. So it didn't feel as drawn out as usual either.
If he didn't stare at him for like, that felt like 55 seconds. Maybe if he did like a 10-second stare, 5-second stare, and then get to it, it just felt that stare took forever, which kind of took me out of it a little bit. But overall, this is kind of a hidden gem.
Yeah, and it's 20 minutes, so it's not too long. But I even have it in my notes from that down. Like, this was like this should have been the end. Move on. Like this felt like a good ending point, a good place to kind of wrap the feud. 3-match series. SummerSlam we talked about was kind of weird. We'll get to the other one in a minute, and this would have been a nice ending. That Iron Man was just one too many.
Well, John must pose, so you kind of had to have that final one.
Well, then just have him win later. All right, let's get to number 3. Another Hell in a Cell. This one's 5 years later. They go back to the biscuit, back in the cell with these two. And this is like a weird addendum because they feuded into early 14, And then this gets thrown out at the end of the year. Like this, they come back together for this match, and they do have like a match later on. But for all intents and purposes, this is kind of the end of their rivalry. They have one off match in 17, and then obviously this weekend. But like this was the kind of the end of the 10-year or 8-year, whatever it is, Cena Orton feud of like the two top young guns.
Yep, Hell in a Cell pay-per-view again. October 26, 2014, another Hell in a Cell match. This time there was only 2 Hell in a Cell matches. This was the first one. I think kind of benefited from there. This was the number 1 contendership for the WWE World Heavyweight title held by Brock Lesnar. John Cena won via pinfall at 26 minutes, 25 seconds. Justin 3.5. I went 3 3/4 plus. Cage match went 6.78 for a 7.09 average. I'm the highest here. Pleasantly surprised, totally forgotten about. It would lead to Cena versus Brock versus Rollins at the Royal Rumble in 15, which is an all-time match. So there's good stakes here. You have Heyman afterwards.
Great match on a shit show.
Yeah, you have Heyman afterwards. So it felt like they were building to something. This was just at the tail end of what would be Orton as the Authority. So they kind of just milked all that out as he was about to turn face upon returning after this and face Rollins at WrestleMania 31. So, 2 ships in the night, and it was kind of perfect time for them to kind of go out there and do this. And they delivered. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, it's a really good match. It holds up well. And I think it's on par with their last one. I think they're both really good matches. All right, number 2, we go to Breaking Point 2009, the second of the 4 match series in 2009. And again, I like this one quite a bit. I liked it better than Iron Man for sure. But why don't you give the stats and then we'll dive in.
All right, Breaking Point pay-per-view, the only Breaking Point pay-per-view in WWE history, thank God. September 13th, 2009, an I Quit match for the WWE Heavyweight title. Cena wins via submission, 19 minutes, 46 seconds. Cena wins the title back. Justin 3 1/4. I had it 3 3/4. Cage match 7.5 for a 7.17 average. This is probably the most memorable out of the 3 outs for success, right? Because our number 9 match, the Iron Man match, is polarizing. But I think that not many people dislike this match. They just perhaps dislike the circumstances of a PG I Quit match. But I thought within those structure, they're very creative and it worked.
And it is, again, a little cartoonish, but not as bad to me as the Iron Man. This also felt like torture porn. Like a lot of it is Orton doing serial killer, slow, picking Cena apart, kind of Fargo or whatever.
It works though for this.
Well, I'm not saying it didn't. And I think what helps it is it's not a prescribed hour. I think that I Quit. I mean, the Iron Man hurts, and a lot of Iron Men fall subject to this. Like the WrestleMania 12 is another big one that gets hurt by the fact that it's going an hour, so it feels friggin' long. Whereas this, you kind of don't know when they're gonna finally end it. You know what I mean? So I thought this one felt a little bit less monotonous to me. So
it's also the second of 4 too. So yeah.
And the crowd was into it. Cena takes his usual shit kicking and finds a way at the end. So this was a true Cena must pose. And the finish felt legit too. And they filled the time. So, and how long is this one? This was
just under 20.
Yeah. 19. So again, that's their sweet spot. It seems like that's why I think that 60 felt, we even said it, right? Yeah. The last 12, 15, 20 felt fine. So if you look at their template, 20, 20, 20, like that's where they excel, is in that 20-minute range and get out. That's why I think the 60 was too much, especially because it felt repetitive to this too. Like we kind of get the slow stalking torture porn and the weird shit in here, and then we go it again and do it 3 times as long in that one.
What I will say about this real quick as we get out of here, this is the last 09 match. Watching these 4 matches in a vacuum, not dealing with the week-to-week Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, not dealing with the long drawn-out promos or whatever, but these 4 matches together all go together really well. I think it's a success, especially with the circumstances of the 2009 era, which is PG and these Breaking Point, Iron bragging rights, Hell in the Cell structure, pay-per-views that really hurt the matches. But all these things kind of went together and they made it work to the best that they could with all the handcuffs around it. I'm higher on this 09 run than I initially thought I would be.
Yeah, again, I feel like a lot of it for me was hurt by the way I was watching them. No. Well, a lot of stuff's new. No, I do think I do think watching those shows in order like that definitely was like a drag
No doubt.
on that series for me. Like I was so done by it. Watching 4 in a row like that, and the last one being an hour on the end of a bad show, definitely was like, okay, I am done with the 09 era of WWE. All right, let's get to our top match, top Cena Orton pay-per-view match of all time, and I guess their best ever, because I don't think any of the TV matches eclipse this either. So unless Saturday Night surpasses, this is our best. So we're gonna go to 2007 SummerSlam. Really the first big match, right? Because everything else before this was on TV that they had. So this is really their first big pay-per-view match of the 10 to come. And in our minds, they hit a home run the first time out, and then never maybe quite lived up to the history.
Yes, this is their third match overall. I think we had like an Eddie show and then a random Raw in February. But this is August 26, 2007, SummerSlam singles match, WWE heavyweight title. Cena wins via pinfall to retain the WWE title. 21 minutes, 20 seconds. Justin 4, me 4. Cage match 7.61.
So basically almost a 4. Yeah.
Yep. So a 7.87 average. Justin, it's really good. It's really built up, and they have the crowd in the palm of their hands at the end of this match. It's excellent.
And this is a very mid SummerSlam. Like I haven't 5 out of 10 for the whole show. Like it's not a lot on the show to get excited about. Triple H Booker is boring as shit. Like there's just not a lot else going on. Really, Ray's returns with the big fat gut in the silver paint. Kane Finley is like an opener. Punk Morrison disappoints. Batista Khali. Like it's a very kind of rough show for SummerSlam. But this main event definitely carries things a little bit. I thought Orton is awesome here. Like he feeds off the crowd. I know it's like a joke that he does those chin locks, but he really cranks shit out of him here. And it pays off because they really work the head and the neck a lot. So there's a lot of smart offense. And Cena was good as always, but I thought this was Orton's show. Like I thought this was one where, most of these matches and Cena, we could talk the win-loss, but I think Cena, comes out on top all time over Orton. But this is one to me where even though Orton doesn't win the match, I thought he won the night because I think he actually outclasses Cena in this match. He was phenomenal, both in character work and in ring work. So to me, leaving this show, he was the star of the show. I gave him the MVP, even though he loses. I just thought he was really, really good.
So he was slated to this is a strong assumption of mine, but I think he was slated to win the WWF title probably in the fall of 07 before
No Mercy, probably, because they kind of go that way anyway with the whole Triple H, Umaga, or doesn't Orton end up leaving that show as champion? I think he does. So
yeah,
I'm guessing he was going to beat Cena at No Mercy. It felt like they were building to that.
They wanted to introduce Orton to the Cena universe or whatever with matches, and they did a great job of doing so, which really propelled him because he's still like at that like A-, B+ tier of a star, and this really does propel him up to that Triple H, Undertaker, Cena level in 07, 08, right?
Right, because what really had he done? Like he had the rated RKO stuff.
He was a punk pretty much, right?
In the mid 07, he doesn't really do a ton. He still had the rep as kind of an asshole lingering from the 05, 06, the drug steroid bust. Like it wasn't his fault, but his dad with the hepatitis. Like it seemed like a black cloud over this guy forever. And this is where he starts to come out of it. And then right when it gets over, he ends up blowing his shoulder out or whatever. Is that like, I think mid 08, right? He blew his shoulder out. And then from there it's on. Like I think that's where he really turns his career around and gets rolling.
Yeah, so this is definitely a making moment for Randy Orton, and he brought it in ring. He tied his shoes after tight, and he was ready to go. So yeah, this definitely warrants the #1 spot for me, even though I would have the Iron Man match just because of the closing stretch being so phenomenal, a little bit higher than this. But the crowd for those 2 moments were at its peak.
Yeah,
for this whole feud is pretty much the start and the end of 09. So yeah.
All right. Do you want to touch on some TV stuff? I know we get some comments from fans. What do you want to do first?
We'll go TV stuff. So yeah, the TV matches that were kind of high points here. 210-14 a Raw, 219-07 a Raw, 27-17 a SmackDown. Kind of a theme with February. These guys kind of cook on TV.
February's like a sneaky good month for televised wrestling in WWE because they would usually kind of throw like a blow off match before they reset for Mania. Isn't that because you get is it Cena Punk Is that 13? Remember they have that awesome match on
Yeah,
TV? That's in February, I think,
it's
before
either March
Mania.
or February, whatever.
Yeah, it's in that zone. That's 6 weeks leading into Mania. Sean and Edge, I think they have that great TV
05, yeah.
match in 05. Like, it seems to be kind of a theme and a thread for them where they would have these really good TV matches to either kind of wrap a feud heading to Mania or just to cook during the February sweeps building to the show. So yeah, those 3 really good matches. The 17 match is their last. That's kind of an addendum to their feud. It's almost 3 years after their Cell match in 14. It's on SmackDown, and the Wyatts cost Orton because that's setting up Orton Wyatt at Mania 33
with the bugs.
And Cena's in that weird feud with Miz, where Miz is like amazing, one of Miz's best stretches of his career, where he's mocking Cena with the total diva stuff, him, Maurice, and all that. So that's setting up their mixed tag and the marriage proposal at 33. So both guys kind of in a very different spot heading into that Mania, but that one was pretty good. So the other one's real quick. November of 05, they fight. It's the Eddie Guerrero tribute show. I mean, not much of a match. It's a DQ. It's just that whole night is like just kind of obviously stuff thrown together to pay tribute to Eddie. They have a couple in 08, both kind of mid. I went 2.5 on both. It was February 08. Triple H is a special ref. This was leading up to Mania. And they have another one in May where JBL is a special ref. Cena wins the first one. Orton wins the second one. They fight again in December of 09. This is the Superstar of the Year tournament they do in 09, and Cena wins. That's the final. It's kind of another 2.5-er. September of 10, they have a tables match. And then October of 10, they fight. That's a DQ win for Cena. Those are leading to nowhere because they don't really have anything. So they kind of have those 2 matches like 6 weeks apart. And then they don't really intersect again in 2010. They don't fight again after that until it's like 3 years later. They don't touch. I mean, I'm sure they're in some tag shit here and there, but
overall, I think it's a little bit overhated feud, in my opinion, right? I think this is a good time to mention, Justin, after this weekend's match at Backlash, we're going to do a short and kind of insert them in the top 10 and see where they go. So that would be kind of something fun to do. I think.
And real quick, there was one other match. I just want to get it out. It was one other match. September of 14. Cena wins that by DQ again. That was leading up to Hell in a Cell.
All right, before we get some YouTube comments here, we did a short leading into this asking what was your favorite John Cena pay-per-view match. Richie Mars, Hell in a Cell 2014. Steve Bennett, every time Cena's music hit, you know the big match John is coming. Trent, while I have never really watched back either match, I plan to eventually once I get we get it, Trent. But I remember enjoying their Iron Man match at Bragging Rights 09 as they found different ways to keep it interesting, which can be difficult to do in such structure of an hour-long match. Agree. Jeremy, if I had to pick one match, I'd do 2019 Hell in a Cell. It was their best. It was an improvement over 09 Hell in a Cell, and with Brock waiting, kind of added some flavor to the match. Mike Eller, 2017, he's with us, probably as their best match. I enjoyed their 2009 feud more than the 2007 feud, but their match couldn't be any better at 07. Farrell, most run together, which is kind of true. I would say that the Breaking Point I Quit one just because of the difference that makes it stick out. I would say 07 SummerSlam from Steve Riddle. And then this one's kind of with you as well. Ryan Everett, I personally hated the Iron Man match. Many matches where one guy tries blowing up doesn't do it for me.
I think it reminded me too much of Shane and Kane in 03 with the car battery and the car, and when they were doing that like cartoonish feud in 03.
Yep. And then he goes on to say SummerSlam 07 and TLC 13 were probably their best matches, with an honorable mention from Fatal 4-Way in Backlash 07 multi-man matches. Right. Rossi 2009 Breaking Point, the I Quit match from Montreal, Grooney, Bragging Rights 09, the Iron Man match. I don't know if I feel so great about it now.
So if you're on Grooney's side, you're probably on the wrong side.
So softball 10-19. One of Cena's best matches was against a heel AJ Styles. Not a bad. I think that's kind of low key underrated too as well.
They have a great series.
Yep. And then Keithy baby, can I say all of them? Cena and Orton always better than either with Batista. So yeah, that's actually probably a good point too.
I don't know. Cena Batista is pretty good. I'd have to look back, but they have a really good feud.
Yeah, I just don't think they have the volume. I think it would have been returning.
There's more than you think,
returns
but
if they
it's that
went
10
to-
feud that really carries it. Orton and Batista don't have a lot, actually. Theirs is kind of, I don't think there's as many for them.
They don't really kind of go together.
Would you put Cena Edge over Cena Orton?
Yes. Just because the high point of that TLC match is
Cena
that
Punk is
nothing really
obviously
touches that.
Cena Punk is higher.
I think it's his best one.
Cena Punk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd put
Perhaps
Cena.
that's what you have to do at the end of the year. Count down his feuds.
There you go. Because Cena Styles is good. They only have the 3 matches, but I guess you would have to have like a minimum amount of matches to weight it because this one is 10. So there's gonna be a lot more. But
Well, they have a bunch of TV matches too with like.
you know what we can do? We'll mark it down for the end of the year. We'll take their best 3 of each feud and say rate those 3 and then determine what the best ones were along with the feud.
That might help Orton, honestly.
Yeah, because that can help normalize and equalize the numbers because you're going to get some feuds where they have 10 matches like these guys or Edge, and then Punk or like Bryan or Styles, right? Or Brock even like there's less, right? Because Brock is like a sneaky one too, where they
Brock's
have
a great one. Yeah, they have a really good one in 03 on SmackDown, and then of course that awesome one at 12 at Extreme Rules. So
and then SummerSlam 14.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, so that'll do it for us. So be sure to check out all the content on Connection. Ryan, you'll be here for the post show after
Tonight.
Backlash Live. So be sure to check that out. We have all the previews leading up. So if you're checking this out and want to get caught up on the card, those are on the YouTube channel, or there's one big audio drop that has them all as well on the audio feed. Be sure to check out everything else we have North South Connection. We cover ECW. We're covering WWE historical pay-per-views, going through the chronology of late 80s, early 90s WWF wrestling on NoSo. And then, of course, all the other stuff we got cooking week to week on the NoSo. So check it out. I want to thank you for all your support. Until then, enjoy. Talk to you later. Keep counting down.